Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Paul Brandt and I'll be the lead official for your event this weekend. I'm going to take a few minutes to discuss the gear expectations and briefly go through the rules of competition. So let's get started. This picture illustrates the typical one-piece tri-suit. A one-piece swimsuit is also acceptable. You may also wear a two-piece tri-suit, but it must cover your torso. Uniforms may not have a zipper on the front of the uniform. Rear zippers are allowed. It will not be necessary for the uniform to have last name with the country code. However, it will be acceptable to have those on your uniform. All uniforms must have either the institution's name or logo that has been approved by the institution and the athletic department. Sleeves are not allowed. Swim caps and timing chips will be in your race packet. Remember, wetsuits are forbidden if the water temperature is 68 degrees or higher. Wetsuits are mandatory if the water temperature is 60.62 degrees or lower. Water and air temperature will be taken 1 hour prior to the event and posted in the transition area and broadcasted over the PA system. Standard road bikes are used in draft legal racing, bikes with traditional drop-style handlebars as shown in the slide. Make sure to check that your bar ends are plugged. This slide also illustrates the preferred location of your bike numbers, either on the top tube or attached to your seat post. You may use any brand or type of wheel that you like as long as there is a minimum of 12 spokes and both wheels are the same diameter. Here is a picture of the shorty style aero bars with factory bridge that is legal for competition as long as they do not extend past the brake levers of your bike. Aero bars that are integrated into the handlebars and may have gear shifting at the ends are not allowed for draft legal racing, as shown on the right. Bike helmet numbers should be attached to shown. You must wear an unaltered, undamaged helmet. It must have the original CPS sticker in place and must fit properly. If the helmet is buckled and you can slip your chin strap over your chin, it is too loose. Get it tightened up and do so before you show up in the transition. Here is an example of what a CPSC sticker looks like. For some helmets, these stickers are very easy to find. For others, you may need to hunt for it. So please take a few minutes, look inside your helmet, find that CPSC sticker, and remember where it is. If the official asks you to see the CPSC sticker, I'd like for you to be able to point it out to them. Now we'll talk about what to expect on race day. Athletes will be assigned a race number. These race numbers will be assigned in a random order. Bike frame and helmet numbers will be provided in your packet, along with the timing chips and swim caps. This picture illustrates the preferred placement of your body markings on both arms between your shoulder and elbow, and on the side of both legs between your knee and your ankle. Race number tattoos will not be provided at this event, so please self-body mark before arriving to transition. No race bibs will be provided or worn during the competition, so leave your race belt at home. At check-in, athletes should arrive ready to proceed into transition. Bodies marked, bike and helmet numbers attached properly. Officials will do a quick visual inspection before the athlete is allowed in transition. Only registered athletes are allowed in transition. Once the bike is racked at your assigned spot, it cannot be removed until the competition begins. Only equipment to be used at the competition should be left in transition. Also, no marking your spot, so let's be careful of that talcum powder. This is how we'd like your transition area set up, nice and clean. Helmet on the handlebars, shoes next to the front wheel, the bike hangs from the nose of the saddle, rear wheel up. If you don't use clip-on pedals, that's fine. Just place the shoes that are to be worn on the bike in front of the running shoes as shown in this picture. Athletes will have a swim warm-up prior to their event. This will be an in-water start. We will line you up in sequential order prior to entering the water. Once called, the athlete will enter the water, staying behind the markers. An official will start the race with the following commands. First, they'll say, "You are in the hands of the starter," followed by "on your marks," followed by a horn blast. T1. Athletes will return from the swim to their spot in transition where they must deposit their swim cap and goggles, and if the wetsuit is used, that as well, into the transition bin that is assigned to them. Please make sure you place the items in your bin. I've seen quite a few penalties in the past from athletes putting their equipment in the wrong basket. Prior to removing the athlete's bike from the transition rack, the athlete must have their helmet on and buckled. After that, they can remove their bike from the rack and move past the mount line to start the biking segment of the competition. On the bike, athletes may draft and may pass on either the left or the right side of the road. It is important that athletes do not cross the center line. Spare wheels may be brought into transition where officials will approve them for use and take them to the location of the wheel stop. The lap out rule will not be enforced at this event. This is going to require extra communication and care during the bike segment. If there's a pack of athletes that are about to overtake a cyclist, I like for there to be lots of communication so no one is caught by surprise. If you are a single cyclist or a small pack, make sure you're riding to the right side of the road so the faster packs can pass you safely. T2. The athlete will return to their marked position in transition. They must rack their bike in one of three ways: front of the saddle, facing either direction, or by both handlebars or both brake levers. All used equipment must be placed in the athlete's assigned bin. An important note: if the bike shoe pops off the cleat during the dismount, it is not necessary to go back and get it. Leave the shoe rather than go against flow of traffic. You will not be penalized. There will be an official or a volunteer on a bicycle leading the first runner on the run course. Races will generally have water or sport drink at the aid stations on the course. Let's briefly talk about the rules. It is important to note that the rules governing draft legal events that are sanctioned by USAT are the World Triathlon Rules of Competition. There are, however, several dispensations that are outlined in the USAT Draft Legal Equipment and Rules Checklist, which can be found at usatriathlon.org. These dispensations are centered around uniform and equipment requirements that help make participation accessible to more people. It is your responsibility as an athlete, as a coach, and even as parents to know these rules. The time for questions about rules is before the competition. Now let's take a moment to talk about penalties. I'm going to talk about three types of penalties. The first one is that of a warning, or as the World Triathlon Rulebook points out, stop and amend. For events such as this, stop and amend is my preferred method. This allows for a teaching moment at the point of infraction. For example, you come in from the swim into T1, you put your swim cap and goggle in your basket. You grab your bike without putting on your helmet. I don't want to give you a penalty for touching your bike during the competition without your helmet on. What I'm going to do is blow my whistle, get your attention, and tell you to re-rack your bike and put on your helmet. This will do two things: effectively give you a penalty because you need to stop what you're doing and amend your behavior. But more importantly, the teaching moment it provides, identifying and correcting the issue immediately. Next is the time penalty. All penalties at this event are 10 seconds, and depending on when during the competition the infraction occurs, the penalty will be served in transition at your bike, at the penalty box on the run course, or on the spot. If you are identified as an athlete that was an early starter, left before the horn, an official will be waiting for you at your bike, show you your yellow card, and tell you to stop for 10 seconds. You won't be able to touch your bike or do anything for 10 seconds. Most other penalties will be served at the penalty box, and we'll talk about that in a little while. Last is on the spot. This is usually an infraction on the run course, such as littering. The official will blow the whistle, show you your yellow card, and tell you to stop for 10 seconds. Last is the red card. If you've shown a red card, you have done something that warrants you to be disqualified from the event. Unsportsmanlike behavior or endangerment are examples. Athletes that receive a red card may complete the race, with the exception of athletes that have been lapped out, and we talked about the lap out rule not being in effect at this event. I'm not going to go over every single rule, but I did want to spend a moment on the violations that occur most often. If you are an early starter or jumped the gun, you'll get a 10-second penalty that will be served in transition. Once the horn is sounded, you must make forward progress to the water. You can't block, continually interfere with the progress of another athlete. All used gear must make it into the athlete's transition bin. Helmets must be buckled when touching your bike. Let's get in the practice of doing this before, during, and after the event. Mounting your bike before the mount line, or dismounting your bike after the dismount line. Make sure you know the course, how many laps you need to do, what lap you're currently on. Like I mentioned a few slides ago, unsportsmanlike behavior is a disqualification. The penalty box is not actually a box. It's going to look more like a 10 by 10 tent. There will be a dry erase board in front of the tent, and if there are any penalties, the number of the athlete and a letter next to the athlete's number. The letter is an indication of the infraction. D for dismount, E for equipment outside the bin, and so on. This is an example of what the penalty board will look like out on the course. As you can see, athlete 12 had some used equipment that didn't make it inside the bin. Athlete 50 is having a really bad day. They had a mount line and a dismount line violation. Now, if this is a multi-loop course, athlete 50 has a few choices on when to serve the two penalties. They can serve both penalties at the same time for 20 seconds, or this athlete may choose to serve one 10-second penalty on the first lap and the second 10-second penalty on another lap, if they choose. If you happen to find your number on the penalty board and are ready to serve your time, you'd run up to the official at the penalty tent, yelling out your race number. Once you stop, the official will start timing. You must simply stand there. The 10 seconds will seem like forever. You cannot receive any outside assistance while serving your penalty. Nobody can hand you water or a cold towel or a chair, nothing. Just stand there for 10 seconds. Once the 10 seconds has elapsed, the official will simply say go. But make sure it's the official that tells you to say go, not your coach, not your brother, not one of your parents. Only the official has the authority to release you. This is important. Penalties not served will result in a disqualification, so make sure you check the board. Now let's take a moment and discuss the protest and appeal procedures. A protest may be filed with the lead official provided it has not previously been observed and ruled upon by the officials. Protests are usually filed against the conduct of an athlete, the athlete's equipment, an official, or conditions of the competition. An appeal is a request for review of a decision made by an official. For an example, an athlete doesn't believe that they left the equipment outside the bin. This athlete sees their number on the penalty board indicating that they left equipment outside the bin. If they don't think they did, they can blow by the penalty tent, which will result in a disqualification, and file an appeal to that call. Let me tell you, if your number is on that board, the officials have undeniable proof of the infraction. So be careful if you choose not to serve your penalty. You must notify the lead official within 5 minutes of your finish time your intent to file an appeal. The lead official, who will be at the finish line, will provide the athlete with the form to fill out. The athlete has 15 minutes from their finish time to fill out the form and return it to the lead official. This form must be accompanied by $50 in cash or a check. The requirement for the $50 deposit is more or less a deterrent to prevent frivolous appeals. If the athlete wins the appeal, they will receive the $50 back. However, if they lose the appeal, they will not get the money back. Once the form is returned, the protest or appeal will be reviewed by the lead official and the competition jury. A discussion and investigation with all parties concerned will occur, and a decision will be reached. All decisions on appeals are final. If you have any questions, please direct them to me at the email address shown. The competition jury for this event will be the people shown at the bottom of this slide. Timing, results, and awards. This may seem obvious, but the competition is won by the athlete who has the shortest time from the start signal to the moment when the athlete's torso crosses the finish line. This is important, especially if there is a sprint finish. It is the torso of the athlete, not which foot the timing chip is on. Results will be provided, including splits for swimming, T1, biking, T2, running, and overall time. Awards will be presented for first and second place in each race division. Exceptional conditions. It is important to note that we always expect to host a triathlon. In some cases, that may not be possible due to weather or some other unforeseen circumstances. If that is the case, some sort of multi-sport event will take its place, whether it's a duathlon or an aquathon or some other two-segment event. The preferred option will be a duathlon with the shorter run first. The rules of that replacement event will be followed. If you have any questions, please email me at the address shown below. Thank you and good luck.